Procrastination is one of the things that we all experience in our lives, and it can have a good impact in increasing our creativity, but at the same time, it can have a bad impact in our life where it can stop us from pursuing our dreams and goals and have a terrible impact in our health because of the stress that comes with constantly thinking about having to do a particular task that robs us from having a peace of mind. And in today's episode, I will talk about some of the reasons to why we procrastinate and how we can deal with it. So the first reason is having too much on your plate and trying to do everything at once and putting too much pressure on yourself to be perfect at everything and being productive all the time, which lead you to enter a free state where you can't do anything and you are overwhelmed because of the amount of tasks and things you have to do and you don't know where to start. So you enter this cycle of procrastination that you don't know how to end. And the best solution to this is to sit down and write a non-to-do list where you put all of the things that actually don't deserve your attention for the moment and you can do it later on. Or you can simply ask someone to do it for you or help you with the task because you don't have to do everything on your own. You can get some help and save your energy for the things that truly matter and require your urgent action to it. And also to have some free time to relax because productivity is not about hustling all the time because it will lead you to a burnout and procrastination. That's why having a non-to-do list helps you to reduce the tasks you have to do and the decisions and choices you have to make. And whenever you find yourself adding tasks and goals to your to-do list, ask yourself, is it necessary or am I just trying to make myself busy? Or maybe because I saw someone online doing this hobby or working on this goal and I decided to do it because I don't want to experience FOMO. And let me give you a personal example to understand more. I am a uni student and in my free time I love learning and reading books. And sometimes I find myself adding hobbies or topics to learn about on my to-do list and try to squeeze time for them in my week, which led me to a burnout and procrastination because I have too much on my plate and I end up doing nothing because I am overwhelmed with the length of my to-do list. And this led me to actually sit down and ask myself these important questions, which are, what does matter now? What are the tasks that actually really deserve my attention and focus? So I can focus on my priorities and remove everything that wasn't important and also ask for help from other classmates when it comes to understanding school lessons. The next reason you are procrastinating is because you are waiting for motivation to come. I hate to break it to you, but you're just wasting your time trying to wait for motivation to come because the majority of time you won't have the motivation to work, and motivation will only come when you start working because motivation is a result of doing the work due to that sense of accomplishment that comes with it. And my advice is, try to ask yourself, what is the small step I can take to start with this task to get into the flow and start working so the initial resistance I have for the task will go away. And also another tip is, try to keep record of your small and tiny wins so you can look at them in these moments to get some motivation to start because they make you remember that you are progressing, which makes you want to progress more and keep going to accomplish more to get that dopamine hit that increases your confidence and your desire to continue. Also, another tip that can help you in this kind of situations is a tip that I learned from this book called Personality is Not Permanent, where the author said that you need to design your environment in a way that makes you remember your goals and it inspires you to start. For example, you can make a mood board on your phone and the laptop to look at it every day, or you can have a picture or a note of your favorite quotes on the wall to look at them, to get inspired and to remember your goals because we are human beings and we tend to forget and lose track. And having something in our environment that inspires us helps us to keep going and to remember our goal and destination. Also, something else that the author talked about in his book is strategic ignorance, where you simply try to hide all the distractions and make it hard to access to them, so you won't have to rely on your willpower to try to avoid the temptation. The next reason you procrastinate is you have no clear direction on what you need to do, which makes the goal seem so big and overwhelming because you don't know where to start and what action to take. And my advice is to sit down and figure out why does this goal matter at the first place, and also to figure out the 3 small steps you have to do to start with your goal and convince your brain that the goal is not scary and get over that lack of clarity and uncertainty you have about it. And let me give you a simple example to understand more. Let's say you want to study for an exam and you wrote in your to-do list, study for an exam. That's way too vague and it is not specific. When you're gonna want to start studying, you're not gonna know what you have to do exactly to start studying for your exam. That's why you have to be specific and narrow down your choices by deciding to start, for example, with maths and write exactly the small steps you have to do to study it, like trying to understand a particular lesson or do some exercises to deepen your understanding, etc. etc. And from this example, you see how it is important to be specific and break down your task into small few steps that will help you have some clarity and save you from making decisions and stress and remove the friction that can stop you from starting. The next reason you procrastinate is because of doubt and fear and having limiting beliefs that makes you believe you don't have the capability and capacity to achieve it, because there is already people who have done it before you and they are way better. So why trying? And you keep coming up with excuses to never start, or you keep putting it off because you're waiting for the perfect moment and you are resisting taking action and sabotaging opportunities that are coming up your way because it is uncomfortable and unfamiliar to you. And there is some people who are scared to achieve their goals and unlock their own potential, so they keep procrastinating because they know they will have to give up their current life and some habits or people in their life, and they forget that being familiar with something doesn't mean it will guarantee you fulfillment and happiness. Sometimes what we are familiar with can be the thing that will damage our life because it meets all the criteria of living a disastrous life. And in this case, it is important to sit down and journal about these fears and doubts and limiting beliefs and find where they are coming from, because verbalizing these fears and doubts on paper strips them of their power because it helps you to see them as thoughts that pop into your mind, and they're not facts and they're not as big as they seem to be, and you can take action towards it. And remember that you have to start even if you are scared of doing so, because your time is limited on earth, and these doubts and fears you have, they won't matter in a year, and the regret of not starting is way worse than failure because you will always play this mind game of what if I started, what if I did this, what if I did that? Which will make your existence hell and unbearable. For example, when I wanted to start this YouTube channel, I just jumped before being ready, even though I was scared to do so, and I did not give myself the chance to overthink it and procrastinate. I just gave myself a deadline that forced me to act and take action, and not give the chance to these doubts and fears to hold me back from starting. And try to remember, whenever these fears and doubts creep up into your head and make you want to stop, try to remember the worst scenarios that you don't want to experience if you give up and procrastinate. And let me give you an example. Let's say you want to go and work abroad, but these fears and doubts started creeping in your head, and you are slowly falling into the temptation of procrastinating working on this goal. Remember the worst case scenario that will result of you giving up and procrastinating, which is staying stuck in a country you hate, and you will have have to deal with staying in environments that you despise, which will negatively impact your well being and your life quality. And also, you will miss out on having experiences that you want to have, that can include being around people who have the same ambition and values as you, or working in a job that you love, or having access to better opportunities. And by trying to remember these worst case scenarios that you will have to deal with in the future, those tasks that you have and you are procrastinating on seem way better option to deal with, because in your head you're like, I prefer to be dealing with this and work on these tasks than actually procrastinating and having to deal with some bad scenarios in the future that will badly affect my life, and I don't want to deal with these scenarios. And let me give you a personal example. Whenever I have to study but I just don't want to do it and I want to procrastinate, I try to remember the worst case scenario, which is me having to sacrifice my sleep the week before the exams so I can study. And also, I will be so stressed, which will affect my health and well being and productivity. And this can result in me doing bad in an exam, which means I will have to take it again. And I don't want that. I want to have vacation. I want to have freedom after my exams. I do not want to worry about studying again. And me remembering this whenever I want to procrastinate makes me want to study, because I'm like, studying is better option than actually being stressed and not sleep well during the exams week and having to take the exam again if I failed, which will force me to study again and not fully enjoy my vacation. And also, I have another advice that is directed toward the people who are scared of failure and who tend to procrastinate because of that. Try to do things outside of your comfort zone that you know you will fail at, and it doesn't have to be something big, because the intention behind this is to train yourself to not see failure as this big thing that is so scary. And if you fail, the world is not gonna end. It reassures you it's fine to fail and nothing bad happens from it, and you can take it as an opportunity to learn, because growth doesn't come from perfection, it comes from making mistakes and learning from them. In conclusion, procrastination can be a great opportunity to learn more about the things you need to avoid and the changes you need to make in your mindset and approach to productivity, instead of being ashamed of it, because the more you feel ashamed and guilty of doing it, you will do it more. So shift your perspective about it by seeing it as a learning opportunity to make changes in your productivity. And I hope that this was helpful, and I would love to know, why do you procrastinate, and do you have any other tips I did not mention that you would love to share?